No, thanks for coming on. I just really just wanted to talk about your career, man. You've had a
Okay.
fantastic career. I mean, you've been involved with well-renowned companies at their biggest periods, I would say. Straight off the bat, what are some of your best memories in the wrestling business?
Oh boy. So, um, there isn't like certain events. There's certain events that help define my career, but I guess I'm not at the point where I've dwelled on those.
Mm.
The things that I really enjoy are, the car rides between towns. I think that's a pretty common answer for a lot of wrestlers. So riding in a car with Jimmy Yang and Ron Killings and Vladimir Kozlov and Sho Funaki and guys like that, Sky Tuhati, riding, a lot of these house shows are 200 to 300 miles apart.
Mm.
So you spend, 4 or 5 hours in a car together with guys, and that's what I remember the most. Like that was just it was always happy. It was always happy those car rides.
It's good vibes between you all. And I guess that's the thing. If you're on the road so much and stuff like that, I mean, you need to keep motivated, don't you? And in between these shows and being around good people will obviously help that. But
Hmm.
yeah, I guess then going on to WWE, I mean, you've had a lot of different stints there. Starting with your first one, which was when was that around? Was it 2002? Would I be right in thinking it was around
I think
2000?
that's right. Yeah, I think 2002 was my first televised. Uh, I had a developmental deal back when it was WWF and it was in Memphis. That was in 2000. So yeah, 2002 would have been
Yeah.
my first short run on TV.
And did you enjoy that run? Was that a run that when, it's obviously big global national television? How did you find yourself getting into that after the great work you'd done in different places beforehand?
Um, I mean, so being so young, I was there at 23 on television. I started at 20. I mean, I did my first training at 19, but 20 at Sean's school. So um, I suppose I didn't realize what it was I was dealing with. I mean, even at at the beginning, one of my first little bits was a singing telegram, and I go and I get choke slammed by the Undertaker, or a last ride from him. Um, like man, that's huge. Like to be in the ring with Undertaker as a kid when you're coming in at 23, like man, this is cool. But I don't. But that's all it was. Like this is cool. I didn't realize how significant that was just to share a ring with a legendary wrestler. So I suppose I didn't fully appreciate it.
Ah, do you get a lot of time when you're in these moments and these things are happening? How much interaction is there with people like the Undertaker in the run up to a segment and also with the creative teams? Do you spend a lot of time with them, or how does it work with WWE?
Well, so I mean that instance was 20 years ago. So
Mm.
things have changed a lot since then. There it was, you have to go and interact with Undertaker in the sense that that's the way the locker room was. You better go and shake his hand at the right moment to show your respect. But you don't bother the guy because he doesn't want to hear it. So I interacted as much as I needed to. And the creative, here's your directive, let's see you perform it. I performed it. Okay, out you go.
Mm.
um and at that point I had no uh well I haven't done it, I haven't proved myself there, so
Mm.
I can't say, well, what about this, what the hell do you know, like you this, just take it and go.
Yeah.
Um so I don't know. The difference now is there's a lot more writers,
Mm.
but it's the same thing. Here's your script. Depending on where you are on the card, if you've proven that you can talk and you can ad lib, then they'll listen to you. And otherwise, how dare you? So
So that's
that's
quite
the way it should
interesting.
be.
Yeah, yeah, because I guess then at 23, was you did you feel confident? Was you overwhelmed at times? How did you feel going in day after day?
So I was always nervous around people, but I was very confident about my wrestling.
Right.
Uh, but I mean, to like overly confident. You couldn't tell me otherwise. I mean that I'm striving to be the best, and I'm going to be the best, and you could see I'm working hard at it. And as a young man, I was overly confident, but still terrified, because these were all cartoon characters to me. These were TV characters. I mean, they, I don't know their real names. They're guys in costumes. So I
Yeah,
was nervous.
I can imagine. And did you feel that you quickly warmed to the dressing room in that first run, or did you always feel like you was having to prove yourself?
I was fortunate in that early on I had guys that liked me, whether it was Regal, knew him, William Regal at this point, knew him from Memphis.
Mm.
So he took care of me, and if he vouched for me, so long as I didn't screw up, like, hey, this kid's all right, then I was all right. So, thank God for that, because without somebody like that, you're screwed at that time.
Yeah, I can imagine. But then the next time you're there, your team with Paul London, you have that really great, fantastic long reign as tag team champions. Did you enjoy that period? Did you feel a step on from your first time there?
Yeah, oh yeah. At that point, there was a lot more people my age. I'd been a little bit older. I was late 20s, 30, and so at that time I was, there was more people my age. I wasn't 10 years younger than everybody. I was within the same age range, and still, not at the those top guys are still top guys, but the undercard was roughly my age, so I was far more comfortable, and a point that I would take advantage of being out on the road, with friends who go out drinking at night, and seeing the town, and the only way you could see it mostly was at night, so I would do that most nights.
Yeah. And do you remember any standout matches, whether they were on TV, pay-per-view, or even house shows when you was with Paul as champs? Is there ones that you are actually you look back and go, I'm really proud of what I did there?
Yeah, I really liked the work Paul and I did. I think we complemented each other well. The one I always go back to is versus the Teacher's Pets, which was Casey James and Idol Stevens. It's
Mm.
because that was had no expectations, and I think it was just a um, very good uh, display of tag team wrestling. You don't know who these guys are, you don't really care, but this is how tag team wrestling can be done, and that's kind of like Rockers versus Orient Express. It's an undercard match. Like, wow, that was really good. Nobody, yeah. So that's what I feel like.
That's the match that well, the Royal Rumble 91 Rockers Express is the one that got me into wrestling. That was
Is
my
that right?
yeah. It's
Wow,
perfection. To this day, it's perfection, I say.
I love it.
Yeah, and I guess that's it because obviously, just being a fan, really, you hear a lot about whether WWE, Vince McMahon especially, value tag team wrestling, and I mean, you had that long reign, and us as fans was really enjoying what you was doing. People like myself who would watch you out on Indies, what you've done in Ring of Honor and everywhere else. We loved seeing what you was doing. Did you feel valued? Did you feel that your reign as champions was being valued by the company?
Oh, at the time, no. At the time, I was, you know, uh, I've hopefully grown out of my petulance, but
Mm.
at the time, I thought, well, goddamn, I'm the best. Look at us. Nobody can compete with us, which in itself was misguided. And misguided. It was diluted to even think that we were that good. But then, like, we can't get on this pay-per-view. We can't get on this. I felt that I felt underappreciated, and that was just being young and stupid. Like, and I get to travel the world with friends performing stuff that I was doing for free just a few years earlier.
Mm.
Stuff that I'm doing for free now under the right circumstances, or for far less money, because I love it. And so it was a matter of if you could be old, at that time, but I wasn't. Uh, I didn't know any better. So yes, I felt underappreciated. I was wrong to feel underappreciated. I didn't appreciate the opportunities I was given.
That's fair. I mean, because then obviously when you go back and you're cruiserweight champ or involved in that in 205, things have changed. I mean, you hear a lot about it's got totally different now, WWE. Again, just following it all the years I have and reading the magazines, you can only we obviously only get a small portion of the life you live and the hard work you do. But then going back to be a part of the 205 crew and stuff, how did you feel about that? And did you see it differently, being slightly older and been across different companies and countries to wrestle?
It was a life preserver for me. That I was floundering for years. You know, Regal being a friend and a mentor of mine, and had been there. Mate, keep your head up. We're gonna try to get this cruiserweight thing going. I appreciate that, but it happened, and uh, and then as the tournament advanced and guys were getting signed, and I had the match with Ibushi, which was the last match I get eliminated, and then it was okay. Well, maybe we'd like to bring you back, and I was like, oh man, it's over. That was it. But what a nice way to go out. And then 205 happens. I get a call for a contract, and it was huge. I had a whole new perspective on things, and it was a really nice couple of years.
So you really enjoyed that time, because I know us
Loved
as
it.
fans, again, we wanted to see it thrive as much as it could, and there was at times where we felt, did the company push it as much? But in ring, we could never complain. It was great. But did you enjoy throughout that time what you was doing?
I did. The it's a hard you go on after SmackDown. You're going on after SmackDown. It's whatever o'clock at night. The only thing keeping these people there is the dark match that's going on after 205, which is going to be with wrestlers that have already wrestled for the whole week. They're tired, they're beat up, and now they have to go and perform after the cruiserweights just to keep people there for the cruiserweights. Um, and But the matches, when you could take an apathetic crowd and to the point semi disgruntled, because I have to wait to see Jeff Hardy. I have to
Yeah.
watch you clowns for 40 minutes so some of them are angry, and then to get them to bite at the right time, forget that they were angry 5 minutes ago, be swept away in a match to where all of a sudden Noam Dar and TJ Perkins or Rich Swann, they've got them. It's great. I love that show. I really did.
Oh, good. And was the harmony good between you, the roster that was on that?
Yeah, I think we really bonded. We because we knew what we were up against. You're up against a disgruntled crowd. Okay, boys, let's give them hell. And I was the only one who had done the WWE at this point.
Mm.
So these guys, they're wrestling in front of 8,000, 10,000 people or whatever. It's huge. It's huge every night, and it still is, regardless of up or down. But like, who cares if they're not here to see me, man? This is an awesome crowd. So they never lost their motivation. They weren't disgruntled because the crowd wasn't there to see them. Because the shows that they were doing 2 months ago, they worked in front of 35 people. Like sometimes 1,200, sometimes 12.
Mm.
Um, so these guys were motivated.
Brilliant. And as I say, it was a great show to watch and really, really enjoyable. And then I guess what happens from that, they do the Cruiserweight Classic, and then from that, the UK Championship Tournament is born, and NXT UK, and you start to work more in a producer role and working with some of today's stars. And how did that feel then, working on, honing craft of people, like you say, have been maybe wrestling in a lot smaller venues?
Mm. Um, it's producing. It's fun. Like helping train is training is fun. Producing is fun. There very little of the job is helping them put together the match, in the sense of, well, I think maybe you do it like this, maybe you do it like that. That would happen more with uh wrestlers that are my contemporaries, but maybe a few years younger.
Right.
If I was backstage, let's say a Tommaso Ciampa would come up to me
Mm.
and say, well, "What do you think about this?"
Yeah.
And I see it like that. But when it comes time to agenting a match, you know, you unless something's egregious, I don't step in the way. If they're fighting against what the office wants, then I'm going to step in the way. But besides that, if it makes sense, if it's what the office wants, I don't care if it's a hip toss or a drop kick. You do your thing. Just let me make sure I get the camera angles. So it's not. I don't know. It's not really mentoring.
Right. Okay. So, and do you enjoy that though? Is it? I mean, it's very different, isn't it? Do you enjoy
Mm.
being involved in that?
I do, because it's a challenge. The camera angles, working the trucks, working to help piece together a match that doesn't have any right to be any good, knowing that the match can be bad and sometimes they are bad, and so you have to eat that. There is that panic, so I do enjoy the thrill of that.
Yeah, I must imagine it's a real buzz, especially when it comes off so well with two great competitors. And
Yeah.
as I say, I know you spent some time in the UK and helping at times with the NXT UK crew. Who is there any UK names that you say are stand out and you think, I don't know if they're still part of WWE, or now that NXT UK is no longer, we're waiting for NXT Europe. Is there names that you think that are really, really solid talent?
So I thought that roster was I'm pretty much top to bottom, just fantastic, because they were all wrestlers. It's very similar to 205 Live, in that they just recruited people that do this for a living, just on a smaller scale. I'm going to say Saxon Huxley just because I love the guy, and I hope he gets all these bookings. Um, I you know I thought Imperium was fantastic, and I think Dragunov is on just a different level. He's a human cartoon, but he doesn't mock it. Like Mr. Perfect wasn't mocking pro wrestling, but if anybody else tried to do it, it's mocking pro wrestling. Dragunov's like that. I think he's awesome.
How far
Awesome,
do you think
awesome,
it can
awesome.
go in the WWE system?
I think all they need to do is get behind him, and I think he becomes champ.
Right.
I think you can do that with a lot of guys, but I think he can. It's hard to say in ring and just the presence of it, though. Yeah, I think he can. He can. He can be as big as they want to push him, But then from there, do you put that character on Conan O'Brien to do an interview? The same way you can a John Cena.
Mm.
That's tricky. That's something I'm not that guy. Very few people are that guy that can go and and Roman Reigns can go and do an interview and look the part, and go be in a movie and look the part. Um, I don't know if Ilya has those aspirations or not, but in ring, man, I think he can be the best of all times.
Yeah, man. I'm watching him and Gunter Volta when they were in NXT. Oh my god, those matches are unbelievable,
So
phenomenal.
I got to agent their second match, the
That
one that
one,
was I
oh,
got to age. Well, so there's nothing to do with that one. You guys and I tell them, you guys are better than me. You guys should be better than me. You're younger and you've been. So like, the only thing was like, I could see this way or this way. I had nothing to do. Just give me the angles, boys. Yeah, yeah, those guys are the best.
incredible. I mean, was that the takeover? The takeover match.
Yeah,
Oh,
yep. So
yeah,
not the no audience one where they turned each other purple. That
yeah.
one was crazy. This was their rematch in the States.
See, I prefer that with the rematch. And I was on a plane. I was going on a plane for holiday, and I was watching it. I downloaded it to watch on the plane, and I was making noises. People probably thought that was a problem with the plane. I was going crazy. It was that good, good
That's
man.
funny to me.
They said, but yeah, I guess, and obviously WWE is a machine. It is, as you say, there's different levels. There, you can be the best in ring, but then there's the superstars who can be in the
Mm.
movies, stuff like that. There's talk now about where the company is and where do you think the company is at the moment? Do you think it's going to be sold? Do you think that it's Vince McMahon can become more and more having a say again? Where do you think it stands and what's recently happened?
I mean, it seems like uh whatever it is I say is really just what I hope it is,
Hmm.
because who knows? It seems so up in the air. So I don't know. I just hope it's healthy. I hope it's healthy. I hope it survives. I hope it doesn't uh evolve into to something that will make me miss what it is today too much.
Mm.
If I had my say, I hope it stays in the family forever and ever. That's my hope. I hope it stays within that family.
Yeah, that's fair enough. And I guess that that's there's been a big chunk of your career at different intervals at WWE, but there was other big places. I mean, Impact Wrestling was one during there was early days in TNA, but then obviously the Impact there under Hogan. How did you enjoy that time there around 2010?
I did. I liked the crew a lot. It felt not as well organized, but boy, I liked it. I had a lot of fun. I liked the crew. Occasionally some good matches, sometimes not. Sometimes sitting around, but that's like anywhere else. Yeah, I'm grateful for those times. Yeah, I really am. I like those guys a lot.
Oh, great. And I guess then also he's a big part of Ring of Honor's early days. That's come back now. And have you watched the recent product? Have you seen anything that's come out of them in the recent time?
I haven't. I haven't seen it since Tony Khan bought the product. Um, it's I don't know how it can be the same. Just like it's not fair because I haven't seen it, but it feels like I'm assuming it's going to be like WWE buying ECW,
Mm,
where and I know that like Jericho either is or was champion. Where like, man, that seems it's like Bobby Lashley or Ezekiel Jackson being champion of ECW.
yeah.
Like it so feels like, oh, it's officially ours now. It's no longer Ring of Honor. Don't we own that name, but it's no longer ours. That's just what it feels like without having watched the show.
Yeah, I can understand what you mean. I see where they wanted to do it, but I think, like you say, if you lose the true essence of what it is, and they've almost wanted to put a big name with the belt to then try and get more eyes on it. But then is that
Yeah.
what it was? And yeah, I get what you're saying. Yeah. I mean, the recent product has just started. It's okay. I mean, it's not bad. I find it hard to differentiate it from AEW. The production's very similar. So it's
I yeah, I think the only way to do that is put it in the buildings where they ran, like it having a high school gymnasium with black tarp sort of gritty feel to it. I think that's the only way to keep it the same. Same like ECW being taped before Raw in an arena of 12,000 people who don't care who any of these guys are. That's rough.
yeah. Because you was around that time. Was you around when they was taping the new ECW, the WWE version?
I was, yeah,
How was
yeah.
the atmosphere with that roster?
So I love those guys. To they were a group of guys who I never got to meet before, but I loved ECW. That was when I was in high school and just becoming a wrestler. ECW was around. So man, like I got to meet Sabu. I get to meet. I mean, so Tommy Dreamer had been there, Rhino had been there. A few of the guys had already been there, but now I'm getting to meet like Hack. Like it was awesome. I loved all those guys. Every one of them was nice to me. Everyone was, yeah. I, I really like those ECW guys. So even if the product wasn't the same, I'm grateful that they brought those guys.
Brilliant. Yeah. And I guess then talking about AEW, I know there was a chance you was going to be involved with them. Is that still something you'd like to do in the future?
Uh, no, probably not. Probably not at this point. I don't, I don't foresee that happening. Uh, but who's to say? It's hard enough to tell you where I've been. So how can I tell you where I'm going? Uh, but yeah, I don't predict that happening.
Oh, fair enough. But I guess then, if you could set a match with yourself against anyone active around the world today, if there was a couple of names or a standout name, who would it be that you want to take on?
Okay, so yeah, I mean, as far as like somebody I haven't wrestled before, it'd be Ilya. I'd want to wrestle Ilya, and then I've already pictured before if I was still gonna if things had worked out the way they were, and I was still doing agenting for NXT UK, then I'd hope, okay, I'll just have my retirement match with him, put him over in the UK, and I'll be done. But things worked out differently, so and if romantically, it'd be Bryan Danielson though. Would be my last match. Yeah.
You guys have had a great past, right? And was you both training together? Was that the case?
Yeah, yeah. So we both went to Sean's school at the same time. Um, Ultimately, I wound up moving in, crashing in on his floor, and then we moved to Memphis together. And then when we got signed to developmental, wound up at Ring of Honor together, and so we our paths kept crossing early on.
Yeah. And that was it. Yeah. What about someone like, I've always thought about someone like yourself and Will Ospreay. Would that ever be something that you could
I would
see?
love to. Yeah, yeah. I would, man. I would love to push myself against any of these guys. You know, see if I can, yeah, hold up my end of the bargain with these top guys. I would love to.
Oh man. And any chance you reckon you'd be back wrestling in the UK?
So I don't know what the restrictions are anymore. But I would love to. I've always had a blast out there. I've always felt uh, at home, you know, comfortable, walking the streets, going out at night. Always gel real well with the locker room. So I would love to go out to the UK. Absolutely, I'd jump on it.
Oh, well, mate, if you're ever there, let me know again and we'll go back to my mate's pub and the drinks are on me.
Oh, deal, 100%. I
All
would
right.
love
All
that.
right. Keep in
Yeah,
touch. And Brian, thanks very much, mate. It's been a really good conversation. Great to talk about your whole career and how you feel things have been. You know, you've been an absolute star. Loved watching you throughout all your time, Ring of Honor upwards. And I hope there's many more good things to come, mate.
it's very kind of you to say, and I apologize because this is all going to be trimmed down and I meander and ramble. So
No, no, that's
I
good. That's
apologize
good,
for the
man.
editing.
It's all right, as I say, because what I'll do is I'll annotate it and put stuff in text. And yeah, it'll be great. It's a really lovely piece. So thanks ever so much, man.
Beautiful. Thanks, Lee. You have a good one, brother.
You too. Take care. See you,
You
man.
too.
Bye
Bye.
bye. Bye.